What's up, everybody? This is Tom Lang with Warchant TV and Warchant.com, your home for the best FSU football coverage in the business. If you haven't done so already, please hit the like button underneath this video and subscribe to our channel at Warchant TV. It's absolutely free. We're talking today about Florida State Football Hall of Fame candidates. 3 players made the list this week as finalists for the College Football Hall of Fame class of 2023, and those players are Warrick Dunn, Sebastian Janikowski, and Peter Warrick. So our own Jeff Cameron and Corey Clark debated if you could only put one player in per College Football Hall of Fame class over the next 3 seasons, in what order should these 3 Noles be inducted into Atlanta? Here's their discussion from this week's Jeff Cameron Show.
Which of the guys would you place in the Hall of Fame first? We got a chance earlier in the week to see the names. Obviously, all-time greats there in the form of Peter Warrick and Warrick Dunn. And I started thinking about, because you and I are old hats. We go back. We remember the history of this great program. There was a time, folks, if you're out there, that Florida State was really good.
Every year they had a bunch of All-Americans.
And these are guys that we've been waiting on and, probably should have already been in the Hall of Fame. But then I started thinking, I wonder who Corey would have. Who would he pick if he could only take one of the 3 that were nominated here that are on the list? Who would you have in first?
Peter Warrick.
Yeah, me too.
I think that's the easy one. I think number 2 is the one that's debatable, but Peter Warrick is still one of the 5 best wide receivers I've ever seen in college football. It's just nuts. And he would translate to today. He would translate in any era. It was like a mixtape, man. If y'all go back and watch his highlights on YouTube, it is a mixtape. He's making dudes fall down and buckle to a knee all the time. No, I'm not quite sure what happened. I know he got injured in the NFL, and I think that it shouldn't, but I think that always devalues a player's greatness in college is if they don't pan out in the NFL. But man, that dude is one of the 5 best wide receivers I've ever seen. And I think he was the best wide receiver in the country 2 years in a row. That's very rare.
By the way, and it's interesting, Corey, because I think another thing that is rare is that when you're watching a player who's truly transcendently great, who's preternaturally awesome, right? Sometimes it takes a little time to go by and you reflect at their greatness. We knew in the moment, everybody in that stadium knew what they were watching was truly special and transcendent. Like, you knew, I'm probably never going to see a guy, and if I do, maybe one other guy that ever looks anything close to this.
Yeah, it was he did everything too. Now he could throw, he did reverses. He had the one against Louisiana Tech, the double, triple reverse. But he was just and he was a competitor, man. Like, he was just he wasn't one of those wide receivers that would run out of bounds or duck down. He was always trying to get extra yards and make people miss. And I think, 97, he had that breakout game against Clemson, remember, where he had like 3 long touchdowns and over 300 yards of total offense. But then the rest of that year was just kind of nothing extra special. And then 98 came around, and it started in the who'd they play? A&M, Texas A&M to start that season with Winky. And then he was just incredible the whole season. And I think Florida State fans rightly will never forgive Mark Richt for the game plan in the Fiesta Bowl where Peter Warrick had 1 catch. It's just incredible. And the first play of the game, you remember this, Jeff, I'm sure. I don't know how drunk you were that day, but I'm sure it still sticks with you. They lined him up at quarterback for the very first snap of the game, and they got to delay a game. And then they never lined him up at quarterback again.
I was at the game. And we all know what would have happened had Winky been healthy. We would have drubbed Tennessee by 40.
Or if you get it to your best player 12 times.
That's the other part, is that midway through that game, when it became apparent that Rooster sucked and had no chance to do anything.
Right.
He
could throw a little out pass that he could throw a stop pass to Peter Warrick, maybe.
Man, all I was screaming at the time was just put Peter Warrick at quarterback and let him run around.
Yeah.
Just let him run around. Just like that guy is going to make a play. It drives me nuts. All right, so I would go Warrick Dunn next. You wouldn't?
I think I would go Janikowski only because of, and we lived through this era. We had never seen anything like that dude. I don't know that we still have. Like, he was a star kicker.
Yeah.
And he was like bigger than life.
He was. He was also borderline criminal. Yeah.
And that's my issue. Like, Warrick Dunn is actually a very good person off the field. I think that's been well documented.
Yeah.
Janikowski, not so much. So if it's even, I don't know if the College Football Hall of Fame cares about that kind of stuff. If we're talking about on-field exploits, Warrick Dunn was my all-time favorite player at Florida State, probably. Just, you loved everything about him. but I don't think he was as unique a running back as Janikowski was at his position. That's all.
Fair. That's fair. I think at the end of the day, because it's so close, I would just go Warrick Dunn because he's a freaking awesome dude. And Jano was not.
Correct.
But
do
yes.
you remember Warrick Dunn's? It might be what is it called? Apocryphal? That's the word, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think it happened when the Bucks were interviewing him before the draft, and they asked him what he did best. Do you remember what his answer was?
I don't.
I score touchdowns. I mean, that's a great answer, right? That's an incredible answer. And then they drafted him in the first round, and he scored a lot of touchdowns.
Yeah, and he would have scored even more if Mike Allstott hadn't gone and vultured everything.
Yeah, he
would get him down to the one, and then Allstott would score from an inch away.
I saw some stat where there's only been 3 running backs in history that have had like 10 or 12 1,000-yard seasons from scrimmage. And it's Emmitt Smith, like Marshall Faulk, and Warrick Dunn. In the NFL, I'm talking about.
Warrick Dunn was ahead of his time, though. Remember, he could do it all. He caught the ball out of the backfield. Now, he wasn't as good as Marshall Faulk, but he was, again, ahead of his time. I think Warrick Dunn, you can make a strong case for Warrick Dunn to be in the Hall of Fame. If you're looking at total yards.
Oh, you're talking about the NFL Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
But it is a no-brainer that's the point I really want to make. All 3 of these dudes, it is a no-brainer. Janikowski's the only 2-time Groves Award winner. He was I think a 3-time All-American. He was just nuts. He had highlight reels. And then Warrick Dunn and Peter Warrick are 2 of the best that's ever done it. It's just a matter of time they'll all be in. But it's kind of odd that Peter Warrick isn't already in. And what bothered me,
I agree with that,
is when that list was released earlier in the week, all the national writers were like, wow, there's some big names in here. And they would list this guy and that guy and that guy. And they didn't mention Peter Warrick. And I just don't want Peter Warrick to be lost to history, because in the moment, Peter Warrick was as big a star and as awesome a college football player as you would have ever seen. He didn't win the Heisman because of Dillard's. I'll never understand why Warrick Dunn wasn't even a Heisman candidate, ever, really. But Peter Warrick would have won the Heisman in '99 if not for Dillard's. He was unquestionably the best player in the country, and I just don't want him to be lost in time, and he definitely deserves to be in the Hall. But heck, it took Marvin 30 years to get in.
Which is absurd. By the way, do you do this because we do long for some of the simpler times in college football? That's well documented during this time of upheaval. But do you do what I do when the list comes out? Because I have a feeling you do. You go through every name, and then you try to remember vividly their careers. And something about this latest list of 80 whatever guys, I was sitting there like D'Angelo Williams, Garrison Hurst, your boy from Georgia. He's on that list. But Dwight Freeney's on that list. Simeon Rice is on that list. You could go on and on and on, but sometimes it puts a smile on your face when you see, Paul Peluzny or whatever from Penn State, right?
Sure.
And Tim Couch is on that list, and Michael Bishop, and I can remember
Michael Bishop.
Michael Bishop.
Michael Bishop got Florida State into that national championship game we were talking about was because of Michael Bishop.
God bless Michael Bishop.
Well, no, he lost. He was the quarterback at Kansas State.
I know.
I see you. God bless him. Yeah, he lost to Dat Win.
The Davey O'Brien Award winner.
Yeah, that's right.
That's right. He came up short.
And but that was, I think it was Mandel. Like, he listed all the big names, and he listed James Laurinaitis. Remember him, the linebacker from Ohio State?
Yeah.
It's like, come on, man. You're telling me James Laurinaitis is a bigger name than Peter Warrick?
No, of course not. But that's Mandel. And
I was just pointing out that I don't want Peter Warrick to be lost to history.
Also, Antoine Randall L was on that list. Antonio Langham was on that list. Eric Berry was on this list. Man, it's a list of lists this year.
I feel like they got to put 50 guys in a year. Like, you just I don't know how many do they put in? 20, 10? I don't know, but
they should remember the total. Yeah,
it should be 50. Like, all these guys should be in. Who cares? But it's crazy that it really is bizarre. I mean, it'll happen, obviously, but Peter Warrick was the best player in the country 23 years ago, and he's still not in the Hall of Fame.
He was, and he was at the time, for what people thought was reprehensible, suspended for something that he would not be suspended for now, which is simply that he had a hookup and a chick gave him a shirt.
Man, he would be.
What are we doing?
He'd be a spokesman for Dillard's.
That's right.
He'd be doing commercials for Dillard's. Hey, you want a good deal at Dillard's?
I know.
I know people for you.
I know people. I can help you out. Come on, come shopping with me, baby. Be good, Corey. Good seeing you, brother.
Peace.